What's going on, everybody? Rob Doster here from the Field of 68. And today we're going to bring you another episode in our NBA Draft Prospect Profile series. These are going to be dropping throughout May and throughout June, a couple a day. So if you do like this content, make sure you subscribe to the channel and do hit that like button. Anything that you can do to interact with these videos, it really does help the channel. It helps more people like you find this content. And since I have you here, make sure you check out our Instagram and TikTok pages. We are going to be pumping out more unique content over there throughout the spring and the summer heading into the 2022-23 college basketball season. Like, for example, did you know that Penny Hardaway was shot when he was in college? I didn't know that. You can find that story right now live on our TikTok and Instagram pages. The links for those are in the description below. So without further ado, let's get into another Field of 68 NBA Draft Prospect Profile. Welcome back to another episode of the Field of 68's 2022 NBA Draft Prospect Profiles. My name is Rob Doster. I have with me today Wake Forest legend Randolph Childress, and we are going to be breaking down the game of Jaylin Williams, the Arkansas center, who I think could end up being the most influential player that is currently in this draft if he decides to pull out of the draft. But we'll get to that in a little bit. RC, talk to me about the big fella from Arkansas.
You know what? I like him, but defensively, I love him. I think anybody would love him. And I think that any team is looking for a guy his size. You know, he's a charge taker, which is great because he's not a great shot blocker. So if you're not, I know we talked about it in nausea about how great he is. No one takes charges, sacrifices his body more than he does. He's a winner, but offensively, he has a lot to work on. And I would love for him to go back to school one more year. I think he can improve just to show a little bit more. I think he shot 24% from three this past year. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have to be a great three-point shooter, but I'd love to see him be able to bring that up that to into the 30s, at least the low 30s would be great. And defensively, he does it all. Just he needs offensive improvement. I think that's a big question. As much as defensively, that's great, but he's not a guy that's challenging shots. He's a charge. He's a take charge guy, and I don't know if he's going to be able to play. He's not a drop coverage big. He's going to be up. You can switch with him. I mean, there's a ton of defensive versatility. Offensively, though, I just think he has a lot to work on.
Yeah, and I also think that if you are a charge taker, right, and there's two ways to be a rim protector in basketball. One of them is to be 7'1" and be able to block everything all the way up to the top of the square. That ain't Jaylin Williams. He is a rim protector. Frank Martin, we had him on the Field of 68 after dark to talk about Arkansas at one point. And what he said about Jaylin Williams is he's just always in the way. Right. And that's just who he is. He is great at knowing where to be on the floor and where you need to be positionally. But that is harder to do in the NBA where, like, let's call it what it is. If you're a 5-man, you're probably still guarding somebody that can shoot threes. Right. So it's difficult to kind of be in and around the basket taking charges if you're if you also have to run out to the 3-point line to chase someone off the line. So I think that's where the issues are going to come in offensively. I think some of his impact defensively, I think the best way to phrase it is this: his impact defensively is going to be negated by the fact that it's different in the NBA than it is in college, which is where the offensive stuff comes in. I don't think he exposes people. I think he's a incredibly high IQ passer and just fits in terms of being like a ball mover and what you want from an offense. But that if you're not Draymond Green, there's very few guys that can play that role offensively while not being a threat to shoot. And look, Jaylin Williams, I love him. He ain't Draymond Green.
And he isn't like a Bam Adebayo. Like he's not those guys. Like people realize how, their understanding of how to play the game and their versatility defensively. And I think the only thing, if he stays in the draft, he really has to show he can guard literally every position on the floor and be a good ball mover and passer and understand what he is. That'll help him, but he's going to have to be a really good rebounder. I mean, a really good rebounder and an elite defender. And then I think someone will take a chance on him. I think at that point, someone will do it. But I mean, when I say defensively, meaning he has to guard guards. He has to give the team the option to play in drops, but also switch. And then I think he has more value because offensively, he's limited. He's essentially a ball mover and a screener and a roller.
Yeah, I mean, he is a high IQ offensive player, right?
Yes.
He is a very,
He's a
very
winner.
smart offensive player. He's a winner. He's a great role guy.
Right.
But to your point, if he's not, at his best, he needs to be in that Bam Adebayo, Draymond Green role. And right now,
Right.
he's a poor man's version of both of those guys.
Yes.
And you cannot be a poor man's version and play in the NBA. You have to be the best to be able
Yes.
to do that at the right way. Here's my take. I think that he will make, if he comes back to school, right? If he goes back to Arkansas, where that fan base is insane, where they have a chance to be a top 5 team in the country, where they have a very real chance to win a national title next year, he will make more in NIL money coming back to school than he will in his first 4 years of playing professional basketball, maybe in his first 6 years playing professional basketball. I don't see him being a guaranteed contract guy, at least right off the bat.
No, I think whomever he signed with and whoever is advising him, the best thing he could do is to go back to Arkansas. I think he'll make a ton of money. I think they'll be really good. And it also gives him a chance to improve in the offseason. Just offensively to say, hey, he's evolved a little bit, maybe a little bit better of a shooter. That helps him. But there's no question. You're spot on with that. I mean, he needs to go back to school. I think the money financially, he definitely will make more money going back to Arkansas this year than he would. I think he's in that Oscar Sheepway and Armando Baycott, situation where they were going to make more money, way more money going back to school, and he's right there with them.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's a great college player.
Right.
I think that there is the potential for him to be an NBA player down the road, but there are certain things that he has to be better at in order to get to that level, and he's not quite at that level yet, which means you're one of the there's a whole bunch of guys that are 6'10", 250 that can do some of the things that he can do that are not currently playing in the NBA because there's just no demand. If Hunter Dickinson can't play in the NBA right now, then I don't think Jaylin Williams really needs to think long and hard about keeping his name in this draft. And I love him. I might be the biggest Jaylin Williams fan there is. And I'm a guy that hates people that take charges. Right. And I love Jaylin Williams.
Right. And I think that's the biggest thing about those guys. We use those two guys, but they don't do it that way. Bam has challenged you at the rim blocking shots. So is Draymond. Their versatility in guarding guys.
And they can handle the ball. Like they can push the break.
They are snatching it and pushing it. And if it wasn't for those guys, we're not even having this conversation. I don't even think that he's even entering the draft. But you're looking at these two teams, one in the West, one in the East, that are right now probably the favorites maybe to meet in the finals. And that's what helps guys like this. And then teams may say, you know what, I want a guy like that. Let's get a guy like that. Let's start developing a guy like that. And that would help Jaylin, chances of making a roster if someone wants to kind of emulate what those franchises have in those two players. But they're just not that easy to do. I mean, those guys are elite and special. They're Olympic gold medalists for a reason. And, we'll see. I think he should go back to school, but if he doesn't, hopefully he gets with the team or one of those teams that already have those kind of things in place. But offensively, he needs to show at least he can snatch it, push it, make the reads off the dribble that those guys are doing. And then also versatility. They're doing it at the highest level with their defensive versatility. They're not just taking charges. And I don't know if he's the athlete to challenge above the rim.
He's not.
And
Look,
do those things.
We talk about it with Kevin Durant, right? We talk about it with guys like LeBron. We talk about it with guys like Luka. There is a certain caliber of player that you do not compare people to because it is unfair to put that level of expectation on anybody. And I think that they're not the same, but they are as good in their roles at what they do. You cannot compare people to Bam Adebayo and Draymond Green.
No.
It's unfair to expect anybody to do. Those guys are the absolute best in the world at what they do, and what they do is a very, very difficult job.
Yes.
And there's a reason why they're both so valuable. But listen, this has been another NBA Draft Prospect Profile, breaking down Arkansas big man Jaylin Williams. My name is Rob Doster. That was Randolph Childress. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. All of that stuff really does help the channel. Come back and check us out. We're doing more than 40 of these previews throughout the month of May and the month of June. So until next time, we'll see you guys later.